Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
And welcome to the TV Book Club. I'm Dave Spike and I'm joined by my fellow book club members Mira Sayal and Caroline Quentin.
And today's special guests, brother and sister John and Carol Barrowman. Hello to you both.
Hello.
Hi, hello, welcome.
Hello.
Really nice to see you.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Our team have sifted through thousands of new books published and narrowed them down to 10 best reads. Now, we're joined today by one of Britain's best-loved entertainers. He sings, he dances, and he won't mind me saying this, he's as old as time itself. I know what you're thinking. No, it's not Bruce Forsyth. It's John Barrowman. And with him, we're delighted to welcome his sister and co-author, Carol.
Thank you.
She's older than I am, by the way.
Not by a lot.
By 2 years, I would guess.
Yeah, thank
Now,
you very much.
Now, you've
You're
written...
my favorite.
Thank you. You've written this brilliant book. It's a children's book, Hollow Earth. And it says there's a guideline. It says 9 to 12-year-olds.
Yes.
I've read it. You should extend that.
Yeah,
Yeah?
It's
me
for all
too.
ages. It's a
It
great
is.
read.
Yeah, I'd say 9 to 52. It's a really cracking good read.
Thank you so much.
And that's brilliant that you said that, because the idea was we thought that the subject matter when we first tackled it was going to be just for young adults or children. And then as you know, we got more heavily into telling the story and forming the book and everything, we thought, you know what? That was the reason why we did it in the first place. We want to do a book that we want to read.
Yeah, yeah.
So glad you said
Where
that.
did the story come from? It's the imagination. Where did all that happen?
Well, it has sort of two roots that are sort of far apart in time. The first one is many, many years ago, when the first Harry Potter came out, John came across to Wisconsin with copies of the first edition for my kids. And we were sitting at a resort place in Wisconsin, enjoying the sunshine, and we're looking around the lake. It's gorgeous, and there's no children out here with us. We're like, where are they? And John and I walked into the cabin, and they're all like face in a book. Oh my gosh!
And we both looked at each other afterwards and said, wouldn't it be great one day if we could recreate that? So that was one of the instances. And then the second time I was filming...
A little sillier.
Yeah, it's a little sillier, but it's the truth. I was filming Torchwood, and we were going back and forth from London to Cardiff. And we were about to set off in the car. We had a couple of bags of sweets. And within 15 minutes of the sugar hitting, once we finished it, the story just flowed.
We kept talking faster and faster and faster and faster.
old
We were just
sugar.
going,
Yeah.
yes.
Of course, your protagonists they're twins, aren't they?
They're
Yes.
twins.
And I do get a sense that they are based on you two. I know you're not twins, but you're very close siblings, aren't
Yes.
you?
We are very- Yes.
But is there a sense that they are a little bit like you two as kids?
Yeah, I think there's probably a little bit of each of us in both the characters. And you know, what happens when you write fiction is that sometimes these characters take on a life of their own.
Yes.
And I really do think that eventually they did that. And they sort
But
of became...
there's a little bit of us
Family.
and family in the other
Yeah.
characters, because you can't do a book like this. You can't write, as you said, write fiction and not put yourself into it.
Well, the Scottish connection's yours, isn't
Yes.
it?
Yes.
Yes.
Because you spent time...
We were both born and raised, and I was raised longer than he was, obviously being older, but I was 17 when we left. Yeah.
How does the writing process work? I mean, you're co-authors, but do you both sit down? Do you Skype it? Some people do.
We're a true collaboration.
Right.
And in that sense of the word, when Carol comes over, she comes over about 3 times a year, and when we need to work, we focus in on the work and we get it done. Carol and I, when we discuss things, we do it on an MP3 player. We record everything. So when we're doing plot lines, the outline of the book, when we're doing character building, when we're even getting into adventures and what it's going to happen and things that are going to happen in the book, all that information is put down, and there's loads of it. Then I give her a return ticket. I send her home.
Yeah.
Right,
Bye.
back to Wisconsin, and, you know, I shove her back in that closet that I jumped out of. She gets a computer, and she physically does the writing. I'm not going to take any credit for any of that, because I am not gifted in that way. So she takes all of the words, all of the stories, and puts it in where she's great at finding the voice of the characters and does that. So it's, you know, she does all the hard work.
Do you know a lot of writing teams work like that, interestingly? There's the person that paces and stalks and talks, and there's the person that shapes
Well, she
it.
also talks, trust me.
And
She
stalks.
sometimes never shuts up.
And the art connection in it, is that something that you're both interested in?
Yes, we're both big fans. John likes to collect, you know, probably more art than I certainly do, but we love art. And one of our fondest memories is meeting up with him after Phantom of the Opera many years ago in the National Gallery, and that's where the first painting comes from.
Yeah, the
that's in
Seurat.
the book.
But it's such a great idea. I know who came up with that idea that you can just draw yourself out of trouble right early
Draw
in the book.
yourself out of
You can
trouble.
almost see that happening where Matt just draws himself out. He saves the family, helps them escape by by doing, and not give anything away, by doing a drawing. That's such a great
Well,
concept.
it comes from us, having those meetings at the National Gallery, going to to look at, even when we're in other cities, we go to art galleries. And like I said, I'm a big fan of art. You know what? I have one of the first things that I ever bought for myself was a Keith Haring painting, which I saved and saved and saved for. But we always look at things and think, wouldn't it be great if, to be in that painting?
Yeah, I think
So
particularly
what would you do
Surat is
differently?
such a great one. You feel you could. The thing about Surat is you do generally feel that you could walk into the park, into the water, dive into it. And I think that grabs. And my children are going to love this. Really love
great.
this.
Well, we
Thank you so
hope
much.
that they'll pick up a pen or some pencils and crayons, whatever, and kids will start drawing
Yeah.
because of the book.
Yeah.
I just really, really proper enjoyed this. It says, if Hollow Earth is breached, the twins are as good as dead. And you drive in, it starts on page 1, and it just rattles
goes.
along.
It does, yeah.
Brilliant.
So there you go. Hollow Earth, it's out now.
Thank you.
Now,
Well, I approached this book with trepidation, really, because I read the sleeve notes, the premise, 7 women reading, why are they there, who are they, what they think, what's the relationship with the painter, and then I started reading it, and there's no punctuation marks, and there's bits missing out of it, there's omissions that you have to fill in yourself,
And
and
you
I
thought,
thought,
it's
this
gonna
is
be
a
a
book.
long night.
This is a book who's trying to be too clever for its own good, I'll say that. But actually, you get through that first few pages, and the prose is very rich and very dense in the first story especially, but it's an incredible book.
it
It's
really
absolutely-
grabs you, doesn't it? And it works on you. She's so clever in as much as each of the stories are completely different from each other, but make a truly wonderful arc and a lovely whole. It's such a satisfying piece of work, isn't it? And brave.
Really brave for a debut novel. I mean, you said
Yes.
you love looking at debut novels,
took
but
a
this
lot of
is
risks in this.
stylistically so impressive, isn't
She
it?
took a lot of risks for a debut novel and there is a real confidence to the way the point of view switches, and you feel that you're really thoroughly engaged in the lives of that character. And I actually found myself, if you forgive my notes, I found myself flipping immediately to the paintings and
Yes.
putting them up on my computer.
So you were saying about the punctuation and all the not finishing of the sentence.
Yeah.
That actually really confused me.
At first it does, yeah.
And I need something to. This is just me personally. I need something to move a little quicker, and I wasn't captured by it that much. At that
I think
point.
you have to persevere. I mean, I felt that in the first
You didn't
chapter.
have the time to persevere in the same way.
No.
But
No,
also,
no.
every single period that she writes about, and there are 7 distinct ones,
Yes,
the last
right.
one set in the future, she adapts the language to each time
Oh, the
period.
sense of time and place
in
is
fact,
amazing,
the
yeah.
first chapter has got the densest language because
Yes.
she's completely changed stylistically in each chapter. So it's a really hard
The
job
bit
she's
though that I
given
did
the
like
reader.
though was the last bit in 2060.
Yeah.
What I thought should have happened was start it in the future. All right, personally,
You're predisposed to that attitude, in fairness.
a sci-fi fan,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have started it then, and then let the challenge come along for the rest. But it was.
But it's like 50 pages each, set in different times, with different characters, but she accomplishes so much in those 50 pages. You know the characters straight away, almost, within 2 or 3 lines. You care about them.
And the relationships are all different. That
Yeah,
was
yeah.
the other
Yes.
thing I liked. Not, was it Girl with a Pearl Earring?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
Yes.
When I was first looking at it, I thought it's going to be kind of like that. And it's nothing like that because I think the relationships all change, too, that
Yeah.
go across the book.
I think as a reader, you have to work quite hard initially.
Yes,
Yes.
you do. But it's really worth the wait because it's so delicately nuanced. And as you go through each chapter, suddenly all the recurring themes start weaving themselves together. So by the end chapter, I was so moved by the end chapter.
I agree with everything you're saying. For me, and I know this is not what John preferred the last chapter and
that
spent
was
a
my-
little longer with that. I almost didn't want that chapter
Really, I thought it finished off the book beautifully
because I thought I got I got what she was trying to say about our ability to communicate and the rich sort of 3-dimensionality of art and the art's importance in our lives and what do we lose as a culture if we don't have art. I didn't need to see that happen.
Yeah. One of my favourites was the Victorian one with the
Yes.
Flossie and
That was
Rosie,
my favourite,
the
actually.
photographers, which was
Mine was the second one,
unusual.
I think.
You know, when
In
contrasted with
Amsterdam,
the other
Yes,
paintings.
I like the
Me too.
Amsterdam one.
I
really like
also
that one.
thought the book was not only a love letter to reading, but I felt really powerfully a love letter to hidden women's lives.
Yeah.
Because you know, it is called history for a reason. There are so many of those missed opportunities and those
Yes.
unsung heroines in history, and I feel that she picked so many of those beautiful unseen moments out.
And the woman at the beginning, the reader at the beginning, I mean, you never really, you never hear much about the women that posed for like Da Vinci and,
No.
or all those wonderful artists. And so in that sense, you know, I teach at a women's college, and I have to say, I was thinking that there are a number of my students that would really appreciate a piece like this and to slow down in it.
You're right, actually. So each story is like a time capsule of a woman's life.
Yes, who
Yeah.
otherwise would have gone completely unremarked. Because it's, you know, generally it's the man who painted it that got the glory.
The accolade.
But it's incredible imagination if she's painted those stories just from a picture. You know, we could all look at them and come up with our own story for how that girl or woman happened to be there at that time.
Do you think she's been influenced by anybody in particular as a writer?
She said that she admired books like The Time Traveller's Wife.
Yeah, okay.
And Cloud Atlas.
Yeah,
Those are non-linear
And
books,
Cloud
aren't
Atlas
they?
is a really hard book.
Yeah.
The other thing that I really liked, and I tend to write in my books.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see this. This is a true teacher who takes notes throughout
yeah.
with the book.
It's also how reviewers tend to work because you don't have any time to go back. But I also thought she had just some wonderful phrasing. Like she talked about how she doesn't just want to know something. And I don't remember what character is. I have page numbers. And she says, I don't just want to know something. I want to understand something. And I think that's what she's doing in this book. She wants us to understand her art better, understand art, these forgotten women,
Literature,
all those things.
It is a beautifully delicate and wonderful book, and I think you can tell from listening to us talk that we all loved it. Now, each week we've been hearing... Just to avoid any confusion there, our viewer there had the old front cover, and this is the new one, the one you should be looking for if you want to go and buy this fabulous book.
So that's it for today. Thanks very much to our guests, Carol and John Barrowman. If you've read and enjoyed Girl Reading as much as we did, you can go online and vote for it as your favourite. Go to channel4.com/TV Book Club, where you'll also have the chance to win £100 worth of National Book Tokens.
Our next book is The Report, a novel based on a devastating true event, an air raid shelter disaster in London during World War II. We'll see you then.
See you then.
Ooh, that sounds good.
That does.
Yeah.
Bye.
My dad would
It is
love it.
actually.
Next on More For, the first of our river cottages for this evening. It's spring and we begin with Hugh tantalising our taste buds with asparagus and artichokes.
The TV Book Club with Specsavers.